While not the most prominent series in Nintendo's long line of franchises, the Metroid games have had a very strong and dedicated fan base ever since the release of the first game. Although originally not selling well in Japan, North Americans really perpetuated a reception of the series to new heights and made Samus, Ridley, Kraid, and others household names among many gamers. Even if the Metroid games haven't had as many entries as, say, Mario or The Legend of Zelda, they've still built up an incredibly distinct universe filled with many recognizable characters with different morals. This makes us ask the classic question: which characters in this cast rank as the most moral, and which stand out as the most downright evil? I'm Keefe Nossi with One Up Binge, and this is Metroid Characters Good to Evil. Before we space jump into our list, let's establish some ground rules. As usual, we're only taking the games themselves into account for our rankings. Any outside sources, such as the Nintendo Power Metroid comics, will not affect the rankings on our countdown. Secondly, we're only going to be looking at specific characters, not species. That means the Metroids themselves will not appear on this list, nor will any of the other many smaller creatures which Samus blasts through while traveling from planet to planet. With all that established, let's charge up our beams and shoot into our list, starting from the most moral and working our way down to the epitome of evil. Surprisingly, the gold medal of good goes to Baby Metroid. Also known as Infant Metroid, Metroid Larva, Metroid Hatchling, and the last Metroid, Baby Metroid is the final remaining member of the species Samus must eliminate during the events of Metroid 2. However, since Baby Metroid hatches from its egg right in front of Samus, it believes Samus to be its mother. Baby Metroid and Samus then have a strong relationship for the rest of the game, with Baby Metroid healing Samus at several opportunities. Baby Metroid reappears in Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, and Metroid Other M, proving that its loyalty to Samus has stayed consistent throughout the years. Samus is usually a cold and calculated heroine who rarely disobeys orders, so the fact that she's willing to do so for this creature shows how strong their bond really is. Baby Metroid may be dangerous if you land on the opposing side of Samus, but the loyalty it has for its mother makes it one of the more lovable creatures in the series. Now we get to the star of the series, unless you're playing Federation Force, God help you if you are. Samus Aran, who takes home the silver medal. Samus is a hard character to rank for a number of reasons. Throughout most of her appearances, Samus has remained mostly a silent protagonist like many other Nintendo characters. We knew very little about her, and it even came to a surprise to many when we learned so much as her gender. Samus is a loner by nature and carries a lot of anger in her heart, seeking out revenge on the space pirates for murdering her mother at a young age. She does have a more compassionate side, however, and will help out those in need as long as they don't attack her in the first place. Of course, we have to address the elephant in the room, that being Metroid Other M. This game depicted Samus in a far different light, making her much more codependent and insecure than other games. Samus's independence and fearlessness plays into why we love her so much and making her an easy character to look up to. We won't let the Other M interpretation deter us from giving Samus a very high position on our list, as she still remains one of the most iconic video game heroines for good reason. Just because you're a rival bounty hunter to Samus doesn't mean you're downright evil, which is why Noxus from Metroid Prime Hunters gets the bronze medal. A member of the prideful and powerful Vozon aliens, Noxus is one of the 7 bounty hunters who seek the ultimate power claimed to exist somewhere within the Tetra Galaxy. Unlike many of the other bounty hunters in the game who are looking to abuse the ultimate power, Noxus wants to find it in order to prevent the ill-intentioned and evil bounty hunters from harnessing it. Noxus believes firmly in justice and peace, and he knows that the ultimate power could disrupt those principles if it's to fall into the wrong hands. Noxus still does battle with Samus in the game, but considering the other bounty hunters they both come across in Metroid Prime Hunters, we don't blame Noxus for being a little aggressive at times. Now we get to Quiet Robe. Appearing in Metroid Dread, Quiet Robe is one of the last few remaining Chozos from the planet ZDR who survived the attack from the X-Parasites. Ravenbeak forces Quiet Robe to work under him due to Quiet Robe's advanced bioengineering skills. Though this does continue for a while, Quiet Robe goes on to help Samus in Metroid Dread when he realizes Samus to be a legitimate threat to Ravenbeak. Quiet Robe is a conflicting character to rank as his skills and abilities have done more harm than good in the grand scheme of things. This is definitely a case wherein Quiet Robe's bad actions do not qualify him as an evil character, considering he was only acting under the threat of being killed by Ravenbeak. Next, we get to the Galactic Federation Army soldier Anthony Higgs. Metroid Other M introduced many other human characters for Samus to interact with, leading to some mixed results we'll get to later. Anthony Higgs, thankfully, is one of the better depicted characters in the game. He was close friends with Samus when they were in the Galactic Federation together, despite the fact that they have pretty opposite personalities. Unlike Samus, who's usually dark and brooding, Anthony Higgs is usually jovial, upbeat, and likes to play around, even if he occasionally does so at inappropriate moments. He tends to apologize for stepping out of line, though, so we won't hold that against him too much. Anthony has a lot of respect for Samus's abilities and cares a lot about her and his fellow soldiers, all of this making up for any of his less favorable personality traits. Commanding our next spot is Fleet Admiral Castor Dane. In Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Fleet Admiral Castor Dane meets with Samus to track down the space pirates who were affecting the Aurora unit network with the corruption virus. Castor Dane isn't portrayed as the friendliest individual. He's as stern and loud as a drill sergeant and, much like Samus, holds an intense hatred toward the space pirates on which he seeks out revenge. It's even implied that the space pirates killed his parents at a young age, making him relatable for Samus. Despite his rage and possible trauma, Castor Dane does have a strong sense of ethics and genuinely cares about and respects both Samus and his own troops. It's possible that his rough attitude is a coping mechanism for his troubled past, and given that he's dedicated his life to a noble cause by becoming a fleet admiral, we're definitely willing to look at him as a moral character overall. Returning to a bounty hunter from Metroid Prime Hunters, Spire is up next. Like all the other hunters who fight Samus in the game, Spire is a large and formidable foe seeking out the ultimate power. Spire is the last known remaining member of the Diamonds aliens and wants control of the ultimate power in order to discover any remaining Diamonds that could still be alive. That really doesn't sound like an evil motivation to us, and it makes us wonder if Noxus, Samus, and Spire could have maybe teamed up toward a noble goal rather than attacking each other. We've tackled the good, but let's be real here. The Metroid series is probably best known for its wide array of evil monsters. With that in mind, let's get to the bulk of our countdown to look at the characters who fall into the bad to evil category. Starting off this section, we get to one of the most contentious characters in the Metroid series, Commander Adam Malkovich. We're willing to bet that a large amount of our viewers who played through Metroid Other M instantly cringed at the mere mention of Adam's name. Adam was originally alluded to in Metroid Fusion, where Samus hints at Adam having had a big impact on her during her time at the Galactic Federation. That worked fine at the time, but when Metroid Other M revealed the nature of their relationship, many fans were outraged. Not only did that game portray Samus as relying way too much on her commander, but it didn't exactly shine the brightest light on Adam himself. While originally thought to be a highly intelligent member of the military, Adam's decision-making skills in Other M left a lot to be desired, as he would constantly endanger both his troops and innocent civilians when he didn't need to. He even forbids Samus from using her abilities at one point for some unclear reason. Adam doesn't rank lower, as he isn't downright evil like a lot of the characters that succeed him on our countdown. With that said though, his lackluster portrayal in Metroid Other M took a character who should have landed firmly in the good category and knocks him down to the top of the bad. Moving on to one of the more mysterious bounty hunters on our countdown, Sylux is up next. Another opposing force which Samus encounters in Metroid Prime Hunters. Sylux in particular seems to have a disdain for Samus and the Galactic Federation in general, although it's not really explained why. Sylux is implied to be potentially a human, so it is possible that the Federation did something to him earlier in his life. Be that as it may, Sylux is portrayed as quite evil and power-hungry and will stop at nothing to obtain the ultimate power for his own desires. Due to a lack of clear motivation, we can't rank Sylux any lower, but perhaps this is a case of actions speaking louder than words. Now we get to a space pirate bounty hunter named Weevil. In Metroid Prime Hunters, Weevil is a former rival of Samus's who nearly died after an encounter with her on Brinstar. Before he died, however, Weevil's body is transformed into a robotic shell, essentially turning him into a cyborg. Like Samus's many other rival hunters, Weevil is aggressive, dangerous, and powerful. His past as a space pirate who tried to defeat Samus on Brinstar only adds to the evil we see unfold in Metroid Prime Hunters. Another one of Samus's enemies in Metroid Prime Hunters is Trace. A member of the Kryken alien race, Trace is yet another powerful bounty hunter who opposes Samus and tries to murder her on multiple occasions. The Krykens in general aren't exactly the friendliest aliens in the galaxy either, as they're known for invading planets to increase the vastness of their empire. Trace's evil actions as a bounty hunter only increase the amount of evilness that this Kryken displays. Yet another enemy fixated on power, Ravenbeak is up next. First making small appearances in the 3DS remake of Samus Returns, Ravenbeak really increased his notoriety by becoming the main antagonist of the newest entry in the series, Metroid Dread. The leader of the Mawkin tribe of the Chozos, Ravenbeak is a tyrannical leader who's massacred many while unfolding his plans of bringing order to the universe. His catchphrase is literally, "Power is everything," which he not only says repeatedly, but prints in the Chozo language on his clothing. Not only is Ravenbeak very powerful, but he's also very intelligent and manipulative, posing as Adam in order to get Samus to follow his plans, even though that ultimately does backfire. The only reason Ravenbeak doesn't rank a little higher in the evil department is because he does display some level of mercy at times, such as when he offers Samus to help him rather than outright killing her. Unfortunately, that's too little to make up for all Ravenbeak's destructive and evil actions throughout Metroid Dread. Stomping into the next spot is the biggest baddie on our countdown, Kraid. A member of the space pirates who work under Mother Brain, Kraid has proven to be one of Samus's most reoccurring boss battles in the series, after maybe Ridley. Kraid appears in the original Metroid, Zero Mission, Super Metroid, and Metroid Dread, all of which really show the size and scope of the monster. While Kraid is certainly a big threat to Samus, Samus and quite evil, we don't consider him quite as evil as some of the other villains. Sure, he's a member of the Space Pirates, which makes him inherently evil, but Kraid doesn't seem quite as bloodthirsty as Ridley, nor as controlling as Mother Brain. Kraid is definitely a memorable villain, but that's more due to the scope of the boss fights rather than Kraid's motivations or actions. Up next, we get to Kandin. Appearing in Metroid Prime Hunters, Kandin is a bounty hunter who's a member of the Anoma alien race, who volunteers to be an experiment in the Anoma Living Weapons Project. As a result of the experiment, Kandin's mind becomes drastically warped and results in him turning into a very dangerous monster. He brutally murders the scientists experimenting on him, and uses these newfound powers to become an extremely lethal bounty hunter. This leads to Kandin not only going after many bounties, but also his fellow bounty hunters in order to eliminate the competition. Kandin is a dark and evil creature who we were glad to see lose to Samus as the result of his power trip. Now, we're unsure of what type of ethics Kandin had before his transformation, but given the questionable ethics of the Anoma Living Weapons Project itself, we're willing to bet it wouldn't help Kandin's position on our countdown. As evil as many of the bounty hunters in Metroid Prime Hunters are, none of them quite reach the level of the game's main antagonist, Goria. A shape-shifting creature, Goria takes the form of a three-legged Olympic alien in order to destroy the Olympic race. After being captured in the Seal Sphere and being sent to a different dimension, Goria sends out a message promising ultimate power to lure the 7 bounty hunters to his location so that Goria could be released once more. While little is known about Goria's origin, motivation, or even species, we can definitely tell that this is a destructive and manipulative being who has no problem annihilating an entire race of aliens for little to no reason. The Bronze Medal of Evil goes to one of the more complicated villains in the Metroid series, Metroid Prime / Dark Samus. Appearing as the antagonist of the trilogy of the same name, Metroid Prime is a mutated Metroid who's originally an experiment created by the Leviathans to protect the planet Talon 4 after the Leviathans wiped out the Chozos living there. Metroid Prime was a pretty deadly weapon, but after its apparent death in the first game, it fuses with Samus's DNA and becomes Dark Samus in the sequels. Dark Samus then proceeds to travel from planet to spread Phazon, a highly poisonous substance, in order for the Leviathans to take over the empty worlds. Metroid Prime / Dark Samus is one of the most dangerous creatures which Samus encounters, both to her and everyone else around them. Even though Dark Samus is apparently defeated for good at the end of Metroid Prime 3, we wouldn't be surprised if this evil being somehow escapes their fate and is still causing havoc somewhere out in the cosmos. Grabbing the Silver Medal of Evil, we finally get to Samus's very first antagonist, Mother Brain, the final boss in the original Metroid and Super Metroid. Mother Brain, as her name would imply, is the mastermind behind all of the events which unfold on planet Zebes. While little is known about her origins, Mother Brain is shown to be the leader of the Space Pirates, and is likely somewhat responsible for the death of Samus's family. Like Goria, her personality is somewhat hard to pin down due to her mysterious nature. That is, unless you're watching her character's interpretation in Captain N, the Game Master, but the less said about that, the better. Mother Brain is the root cause of many of the issues Samus faces on 2 of her adventures, so we feel it's only fitting to rank her very high up in the evil category. Swooping in to snatch the Gold Medal of Evil is possibly Samus's most consistent villain, Ridley. Samus has come face to face with her previous foes on many occasions, but no one villain has reappeared as often as Ridley has. While Ridley has appeared in the Metroid series ever since the first game, his rivalry with Samus predates that, to when Samus was an infant, with Ridley murdering her mother. Ridley and Samus have battled many times since then, with Samus usually coming out victorious. With that said, Ridley is a powerful creature who somehow always finds a way to survive the encounter and fight Samus once again. While Mother Brain may have been Metroid's main antagonist, and Kraid is likely its biggest, Ridley stands as arguably Samus's most iconic villain, and for good reason. No one quite takes as much pleasure in death and bloodshed as Ridley does, making this an easy choice for the Gold Medal of Evil. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the moralities of the characters in your favorite games. But most importantly, stay wicked.